Similarly, we use the word happiness. 99% of the cases we use happiness only as a wrong vehicle. Because the object is not there, the vehicle is used, the word is used. You can ask me, why do you exert so much? I say, because I want to be happy. I am making myself unhappy many times in the life because I want to be happy. So we use this wrongly. This is about the three types of measures. So measure is the one thing, first what is given, and the wrong use of measure is the another thing. Imaginary use of the measure, stopping the use of the measure, that is sleep, and recollection is one thing. And the measure is these are the subdivisions of the measure. That is direct measure, direct use of measure, deduction through measure, and measure by a vehicle. That is, this is what is most important. Through this, much of the work is being done. So, the mind and the senses are affected by these things. Being affected by these things is not bad, because we want it when rightly done. When the self is understood, when the real I am is understood, all this activity can be used. But when we do not understand what we are, when we understand that the receiving pole is only ourselves, then the whole activity goes a waste. So, after knowing these things, we should make a shift from the reactive pole to the center. This is what we call the negative I am. We have to shift our consciousness to the positive I am. Now, how to do it is the next step, which we take up tomorrow. Of course, the measures are always right because they are given by nature. The right application is important. Because the measures are not wrong. The shape, the sound, the color, they are all in nature. They are correct.
I think this vehicles of the spiritual laws.
Yes.
Yes.
Our using the measure rightly is maybe co-measure. I will go through the sentence given in the Agni Yoga and tell you again. Can you show me? So, we have known what the vritti is, that is the behavior of the mind and senses. And we have known that this activity is known as not self, in which we generally live. Now, there is a necessity to suspend these vrittis and absorb them into the real yourself. Then begins the real linking up of consciousness. How to begin the yoga practice? It is, you have to make 2 conscious attempts at first. The one is repeated application of your conscious mind, the lower mind. Because what is available with us is that part of the instrument which we call the lower mind through the senses. So first begin to make use of that part of the instrument properly. You have to make a conscious attempt to go inside, to retrace your consciousness, to suspend the reactive activity. Every time every moment, practice to think of yourself and try to observe yourself while doing everything. You should not stop doing anything in the world. You should be active, but you should not be active. Your parts should be active outside. You should be active inside. Just as the experienced driver of motor car, he is driving, but he is not actually driving, he is talking to his friend in the car. You know, while you are driving, you will be talking to your friend. Does it mean you are not driving? Actually, you are not driving, but your parts, objective parts are driving. Your mind is driving, you are not driving. Your senses, your eye is driving, your leg is driving, your hand is driving, you are not driving. This is what is to be done as the first attempt in everything you do. So a conscious effort, an attempt to observe yourself while you are doing everything. Now you will understand that there are two layers of yourself. One is the one who is observing and the other is who is doing. Immediately you will understand that the one who is doing is the negative pole and the one who is observing is the positive pole in you. So this is the first attempt you should make, and the attempt should be in the form of a repetition, because the force of habit will go into the negative pole and begin to work. Again you should bring it to the positive pole. Again we will go, again you will do it. After some time it becomes a habit. So when there is already one habit in you, you are engrafting another habit, so that the first habit gradually disappears and the second habit establishes in you. Because the scientists of yoga has understood the great power that is there in habit. Afterwards I will tell you something about the science of habit. I have developed a little thesis about this. I will also introduce it. The science and the psychology of habit. Without that, nothing can be done. Our heart is beating because of the quality we call habit. Our lungs are breathing because of the quality we can call habit. That is repetition. Now you make a repetition, there will be a habit. It is different from understanding. You are engrafting a new nature. So repeated application. This is called abhyasa in Sanskrit. They say yoga abhyasa. That means repeat the yoga stage. Clear?
Can we say this is a meditation? Then we are always in meditation. If we are
We are on the steps to meditation.
always on the steps.
On the steps. On the steps.
Yes.
Because it can be called self-awareness.
Yes. Yes. It is always the
Awareness of the self.
yes.
Krishnamurti also says, aware of yourself in the present.
Mm.
He teaches the same thing, but he denies the necessity of books and persons. That's the only thing. The difference is, he denies to accept that the past people also know this, but he does the same thing.
Mm.
So we need not think anything negative of Krishnamurti. What he thinks, what he gives is the same thing. But he has something negative in him, that is to negate the books and the gurus.
And yes, the whole hierarchy.
That is it. So repeated application is the first step which you have to make as the conscious attempt, which you have your duty, that is the duty of the lower mind as the disciple. The first you start with this repetition, and the second is called detachment. Detachment. That is, when your five senses are negative poles receiving the impressions, you should know the art of detaching the objects from the senses. And detaching the mind from the reports brought by the senses. The mind should detach, just as you cut with a blade a piece of paper separately. You should be able to detach the impressions brought from outside, so that you begin to shine out from within. You should allow the fellow who is inside to shine out. So, detachment. Then how to do it with the conscious mind is the question. People are generally unwise in practicing detachment. We should be careful here. Suppose I have great anger and irritability. I should get detached. Then I close my mind and think of getting rid of the anger. We should not do it. Because we are meditating anger. You see. Suppose I have something low and undesirable. I want to get rid of it. If I think of getting rid of myself, I am thinking of it. So the mind is playing a trick upon us. So here, Master CVV has given a peculiar mantra in English. Trick the trick. That is what he has given. It's a wonderful process. So you have to play a trick upon the trickery mind. This is exactly a meditation he has given to be done during a particular stage of practicing this second one, detachment. That is, you should grow passive towards the environment. Passive.
Das heißt passiv.
Passive towards the environment. That is, you make passive your curiosity. The curiosity should go from the mind. Ignore curiosity. That is, suppose there are 10 people gathered on the street. We feel like knowing what it is, generally.
But this passivity, it gives us then to understand the quality of the other.
No. By observing yourself, and whenever there is a disturbance outside, you should grow passive of it. That is, you should ignore it by thinking of your self-awareness and observation.
But then the quality of that other can come to me.
When you are aware of yourself, it cannot come to you.
No. But if this is passive,
Yes.
then it can come.
Yes. Therefore, in your habits and social life and daily routine, you should create gradually, day by day, circumstances when you are free from such onslaughts. That's why the friendships and the acquaintances with persons are also to be observed carefully. And people who are overcritical
Yes.
and essentially negative and very strong likes and dislikes, you can just leave them off without discussing with them and try to just avoid them. And within a few days, they don't find anything attractive in you, they'll drop off. That is the way.
Yes.
When they have nothing attractive with you, automatically they'll see you for 1 year or 2 years, then they'll drop off. In the meanwhile, you grow passive by observing yourself and locating yourself in a place and a position and a town and a city or village like that. Remove the body from place to place, experimenting in a very passive and safe place where you are not exposed to the direct onslaughts. Because objectively they are inevitable, subjectively you can avoid them. From the objective world, circumstances are inevitable. But you should be able to pull yourself away from the circumstances and put yourself in another place, another position. While doing so, subjectively you be detached. Suppose two people are talking there. My mind very much wants to know what it is. Stop it.
Yes.
That is what
Exactly. Yes.
That is what is detachment.
Yes.
Suppose after a conference or a lecture, I may very much wish to know the opinion of Kumar, how the conference is, how I spoke. Suppose I spoke in the lecture. Afterwards I come to you and ask, how is my lecture? That should be detached. I make some work and ask you your impression how it is. That should go away.
Yes.
Because we should do the best of what we do.
And then it's okay.
That's okay.
Yes.
That like that, at every step we have to practice detachment. Suppose there is some loss in money financially. Okay.
Okay.
Because
But this is the same. If there's no desire to meet a leader or a teacher or a guru or a master, if there's no more,
yes,
then the master can come. If there's the desire, it cannot come. This is
that's
exactly
it.
what-
That's it.
Yes.
So these two things are to be carefully and artistically applied by the conscious mind, the lower mind. So we have to give these two duties to the lower mind, so that the lower mind is engaged in the process. This process makes the lower mind disappear. Actually, it is to be done with the help of the lower mind, but this process makes the lower mind absorb. So this is abhyasa and this is vairagya. This is called vairagya in Sanskrit. That is detachment. And we should be careful sometimes while practicing detachment. Some people suggest us that you should leave your people like that, father, mother, and go away to the forest. That is a negative understanding of detachment. That is abandonment, which is wrongly understood as detachment.
Therefore, people very often go from here to India.
Yes,
It's not true, because as a disciple he has to work in Europe and not in India.
Yes. When we are expected to work in some place,
Yes.
what is the good of our mind desiring to go to some
If
place?
it's not the result, then he cannot help.
Yes.
Yes.
So our desires should be gradually neutralized with these two attitudes. Okay.
Okay.
And also we have to distinguish between desires and needs. That is another point while practicing these two things. We have to differentiate. Needs are like food, drink, sleep, housing, etc. They belong to the body mainly. Therefore, we can very easily define them, understand them, and provide. Desires, they do not belong to the body, they belong to the mind. So, we cannot define them because the mind may desire many things. We cannot actually give a scientific definition of desire because it belongs to the mind and it is not needed. For example, a watch is needed. While we are working here, if there is a watch there, that is a need. If I feel like having my own watch, it is a desire. Okay, because the purpose served by the watch is the only thing important. Then suppose I don't have a watch, my watch is stolen. Then I will sit and work just as I am working every day because I have a watch here. Afterwards we can purchase a watch, but we should not think of purchasing a watch while doing our work here. So, desires belong to the mind and senses. Needs belong to the body mainly. And there are some spiritual needs which we can know afterwards. Mainly what we know is our needs belong to the body. Its clothing, its food and its housing. So we have to distinguish between the activity of our desired nature and know the needs, cater the needs properly and eliminate the desires. While catering the needs also, we should be careful. Suppose food is a need. Taste for food, is it a desire or a need? We should be careful. You have to eat tasty food only, but you have to use taste as a convenience to take food. You see, because it is a gift of nature. We have not developed it. The taste of food, it is given by nature. It's not developed by us. It's not a psychological imagination. This is sweet, that is acid, this is salt. That is given by nature. So it is good. Whatever is given by nature is good and desirable and nothing undesirable in it. So use it as a convenience to eat. But if we eat for taste, it is bad. If we use taste for eating, it is yoga. Like that, we should be able to understand things. This is one thing. So, first attempt is by two methods. One is conscious attempt, repetition, repeatedly applying our conscious mind to self-observation and self-awareness. And the second thing is growing less and less active with the environment. That's the next step. Then he defines what repetition is. It is an effort towards the state which we wanted to attain. So there should be a desire to attain what we want. So the desired nature should be sublimated by applying it to the object of your yoga practice. The mind is like a cloth, like a handkerchief. If you place camphor in it, keep it for some time, take it away, it smells like camphor. If you put an onion in it for some time and take it away. It smells like onion. That is, this smell is called desire. Now, you put some fire in it for some time and take it away and smell. There is no fire in it. Fire has eaten away your handkerchief. Fire is the only thing which is different from all other things. All other things give their quality to the handkerchief. Fire eats away the handkerchief. Similarly, when desire is applied to any other thing, you will get the association or the nature of the thing polluted. If you apply it to your object of yoga, desire will be burnt. So, it is impossible to drive away desire. Therefore, apply it to what you want. This is one process. And actually, this is the thing which is aimed at by the masters when they first talked of to the Theosophical Society, when they said to form a nucleus of universal brotherhood. You know, 3 objectives of the Theosophical Society. The first objective is to form a nucleus of universal brotherhood.
Often.
Universal
Yeah.
brotherhood.
Yes.
You should form a nucleus.
Yes.
Poor fellows, they could not understand it. They understood in some other way. Nucleus means a center.
Yes.
Center means they thought some people gathering and forming a center. Not that. You form a nucleus like this. That is what Master Kuthumi meant when he gave the first objective to the Theosophical Society. So he said, let this be a lodge where all the devas lodge. But they thought lodge means a lodging, a place, a house and all that.
Yes.
Of course, that is also true, but when this is true, that works for a long time. When this is not there, that doesn't work, that goes away. Because we will be looking at only the panel of the Theosophical Society, not the work of the masters. Or we will be seeing at the pictures of the masters, not the work of the masters. That is what happened with the Theosophical Society.
Or can we say concentrated on the form?
Yes, form side of
form
it.
aspect.
We are leaving the activity side of it.
Yes.
We are taking the form side of it. And we should also distinguish between 2 things. You should learn to be active and should stop to be busy. You should not be busy. You should be active. This is one thing which we should observe. To be busy is a disease, psychological disease. To be active is health-giving activity. It rearranges all the forces in you, the physical and the mental. Active is self-awareness. Busy means auto-suggestions that I am having too much of work, that I am fatigued, poor fellow, and all that. That is busy. So we impose auto-suggestions that we are not able to withstand the work and all that. That is, our suggestions make us very weak and sick, and we are fatigued too much. 80% of our fatigue is because of auto-suggestion, but not of our work. So this should be the one of the points which we should include about the steps given here. I am only making a practical application of the principle. For example, and then he says, he defines it like this: repetition is the effort towards that state of controlling the lower impulses. So every minute you make a repetition of that object in your mind. Then you begin to make a repetition, and then the repetition stops and the habit is established. He also says, habit is engrafted. That is, grafting of a plant. When a branch of a plant is put in the soil and put soil, after some days you will find this an independent plant. So you are to engraft a new habit. Grafting procedure of a new habit. Habit is engrafted by repetition through a long time without any gap. If you are able to be self-aware without a gap by repeating the thought, then automatically it forms a habit. That is what he means. Then it becomes established. Just as the new branch gives roots into the soil when engrafted, this new habit gets established when you begin to repeat to yourself, to self-awareness. That becomes a habit and that gets established. After some time, you need not think specially of it, just as you need not think of your driving while you are driving. It is like that. But all the care you have to take as a driver, you are taking it, but you need not take it. The difference is, in the beginning, you have to do it. After practice, it is done through you and you are not doing it. You see, from a stage of active voice, it goes to a stage of passive voice. Things are being done by us in the beginning. No, we are doing things in the beginning, and afterwards things are being done through us. That is what Bhagavad Gita says. Stop doing anything. Everything is done through you, and sit there without doing anything. That is what Bhagavad Gita says. In the same, expressed in an artistic way in Bhagavad Gita. Then he gives how to do it. Desiring what is seen and heard should be made passive. Desiring what is seen. You have seen something in the market, or somebody there, he talked to you. After coming home, you should not think of that unless there is a plan. When there is a plan, think of the plan only for a moment to do it, but not in the process of thinking. Suppose we want to catch the train in the evening. Some people are traveling from the morning mentally. They go to the station, they purchase the ticket, they find out, they stand in the platform mentally from the morning itself. But they have to do in the evening. So don't do it from the morning. Do it when you have to do. If you want to do it physically, don't do it mentally, just propose it. That is how he advises us.
Living in the now, in
the present.
In the present.
Yes. Therefore he says, desiring what is seen and what is heard should be made passive. What is heard is much, because we have read many books, we have heard many lectures. All this comes under the heading, what is heard by us. We begin to think of those thoughts. Stop it. If you have anything to do from it, do it. That is what he says. You can read all the books, including the scriptures. If you feel like doing something from it, begin to do it. Otherwise, stop thinking about it. That is what Patanjali advises here. It is after reading a paper, reading a book, see if you have something to do. Yes, then do it. Otherwise, leave it away. If you have something to do it, it lives with you forever. It continues with you. Suppose we read the sentence from the Gospel, love thy neighbor as thyself. No use of repeating the sentence in the mind as a mantra. If we can love our neighbor, then we do it. Otherwise, forget about the sentence. That is what Patanjali says. However valuable it may be a book, it may be a science, a textbook, or an artist book, a book of law, whatever it is, or the advice of a friend. If it is very valuable, if you feel it valuable, immediately do it. Otherwise, forget about it. That is the one advice Patanjali gives here to practice these two things. Detachment. So, do not, here Bhagavad Gita supplements some more. In the name of detachment, do not bring starvation to the senses and mind. Do not make the mind and senses starve. That's not it. Suppose we wanted to practice spiritualism here. I ask you to take the first lesson. Suppose some people ask, can we take our breakfast and come? I say, no, that is very bad. You should come empty because you should be pious. They come and sit down. I ask them to close their eyes and I ask, what do you see? He says, a slice of bread. But if you allow him to eat and come, the mental slice of bread is not there. The mind is ready to follow you. So, if you starve the senses and physical body, the objects of senses are having their seeds in you still. That is what Bhagavad Gita says. All the objects that are habituated to your mind, they are having their seeds in you. The trees are outside. You can cut the tree, but the seeds are there, they will germinate once again. So, don't do it. If something is inevitable, you leave it passive and you begin to do your work, that will go away automatically. These seeds will be scorched. According to another textbook of yoga, it is said, you will have scorched seeds. That is fried seeds. They no more germinate. You see, because when everything leaves its impression in us as a seed, and when you take away anything, this seed begins to germinate. Then you should find out a process by which the seed is fried away. Seed should be fried. You need not take away the tree. That is it. This is the next step which Patanjali says. Do not bring starvation to the senses of mind. That is Bhagavad Gita says. Enjoyment can never be destroyed. When the senses are trying to enjoy outside, you can't destroy the enjoyment. You can bring the senses to the right type of enjoyment. So don't ruin the enjoyment, try to ruin it is not possible. You should make the mind know what is enjoyment. That is the process, because enjoyment is the experience of the soul. It is so true. The very nature of the soul is enjoyment. Therefore, you cannot destroy it. If you try to destroy it with the senses, it takes some other form which is more dangerous. If you don't allow it, it takes a more mean and low taste. It goes into a lower taste. What happens when we suppress sex? It takes horrible and monstrous methods. So you should create a taste for something which is higher. Then automatically you will grow passive to the sex and other things like that. That is why enjoyment you should not attempt to stop the senses and mind enjoying anything. You should bring them to the healthy and right type of enjoyment. Suppose the child is eating something which is not healthy. If you take it away, it is disappointed, and next day he eats worse. Without your seeing, he hides himself and does it. So don't do it. Give something which is more tasteful and which is healthy. He will drop it away and take it. Like that you have to behave with the mind and senses. That is what the scriptures say. Enjoyment of its own, as its own touch to itself. The enjoyment is of two types. One is your mind and senses having enjoyment with something different. Environment. This is a unit of your mind and senses. This is something different outside. By contacting something different, the mind and senses have enjoyment. But the soul is having enjoyment as its own taste, not with something different. The difference between the concept of enjoyment between the lower yourself and the higher yourself is the lower yourself, that is mind and senses, they try to find enjoyment with something else, some other thing, not themselves. For example, the tongue tries to find enjoyment with food, the ear with sound, the nose with smell, the mind with some other thought, touch with something else. When it is cool, it finds enjoyment in something warm. When it is warm, it finds enjoyment in something cool. So, at the point of contact with some other thing, the lower nature finds enjoyment. But the soul is enjoyment in itself. There is no some other thing to the soul. See, is it clear? The terms of enjoyment are changed. Here it is only an idea of enjoyment which is false. Here it is the true enjoyment.
This pleasure. This is the other one.
This is false.
Yes.
This is an idea of enjoyment. Pleasure.
Yes.
Even pleasure, it is only a false idea.
Yes. Therefore.
The attempt is there, the taste is not there, the experience is not there. Here, the experience is there. So here, we have the contact of other thing. Here, the enjoyment is no other thing. Because other is only a false idea. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, seek me and no other thing. That is what he says. Try to find me and no other one. That is what the Bhagavad Gita says. And in the Old Testament also, there is one mantram. So, see, the false concept of enjoyment in the not self. This is true enjoyment. Enjoyment is the experience of the soul.